yesterday. I have very little time, so I need to know ahead of time, should I get a bridesmaid dress ready for your wedding with Jay-Z? Are you marrying Jay-Z?
I'm not engaged.
You're not engaged?
I'm not. It's a big fat rumor.
It is, but do you think it's a possibility that you will be engaged?
One day I hope to be married, you know, eventually with children. I grew up with both of my parents and my sister, a big family. It's important to me, so I'd love to have a family.
Yeah, and so when will you and Jay-Z get married then?
I don't know.
Beyonce is finally breaking her silence. Word is, behind that power couple image, there might have been pressure, leverage, even tapes tied to Diddy. And here's where it gets even crazier. Folks are now bringing Aaliyah back into the conversation, saying she refused a similar path with Jay. If that's true, then this story might be way deeper than anyone thought.
He was very, very, very right there. She didn't want that. She didn't want that with him. And if there's one thing I can tell you about Sean Carter, being embarrassed and being rejected are things he does not handle well.
For years, Beyonce and Jay-Z have been presented as the ultimate power couple. Billion-dollar empire, flawless performances, carefully controlled public appearances. Every move calculated, every narrative polished. But behind that image, people are now starting to question what it actually took to build that level of perfection. Because when you start digging, certain patterns begin to show up. And those patterns don't feel random. Let's start here. Jay-Z has always been positioned as not just an artist, but a gatekeeper. A man who understood power early and knew how to move within it. From building Rockefeller to launching Roc Nation, he wasn't just making music, but shaping careers, controlling access, deciding who rises and who stays stuck. Now add that to the timeline of Beyonce's rise. When Beyonce first stepped into the spotlight as a solo artist, she wasn't just talented, she was young, still finding her identity outside of Destiny's Child. And right around that time, Jay-Z enters the picture, not just as a collaborator, but as someone with far more experience, influence, and control in the industry. At first, it looked like mentorship. That's how it was framed publicly. But now, years later, people are revisiting that dynamic with different eyes. Because when you place that relationship next to other stories coming out of the industry, it starts to raise uncomfortable questions. And one of the biggest names being pulled back into the conversation is Aaliyah. Aaliyah was everything the industry looks for: talent, beauty, presence, and most importantly, independence. According to long-running industry chatter, Jay-Z had interest in her at one point, but Aaliyah wasn't interested. Now, on its own, that means nothing. People reject people all the time, but what makes this part of the story stick is what happened afterward. Aaliyah's tragic plane crash in 2001 was officially ruled an accident, but the internet has never let that moment rest. For years, people have questioned whether there was more happening behind the scenes.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling.
Beyonce expressed her sadness about Aaliyah's passing.
She was our age, and it's just scary because that could have been any one of us. And she was an angel, and I know that now she's with God.
But folks weren't buying it. As one user bluntly put it, she knows exactly what happened and she knows exactly who did it. The smile on her face and the way they all stood. Disgusting. And here's where the comparison starts to form. One woman allegedly said no, stayed independent, and her story ended abruptly in a way people still question. Another woman entered a relationship with one of the most powerful men in the industry and went on to become part of one of the biggest empires music has ever seen. Coincidence, maybe, but the internet doesn't treat it that way. Now bring Diddy into this convo, because this is where things get even more layered. For decades, Diddy has been connected to some of the most exclusive, private, and controlled environments in entertainment. Parties where phones weren't allowed, guest lists were tight, and what happened inside stayed inside. That alone might just be celebrity culture. But when you combine that with stories about leverage, recordings, and influence, it starts to feel different.
You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is
yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood.
I sat right here and told y'all there was activity on the darknet. Videos were being distributed and were going to be sold for profit because the diddler needs the money. Did I not say that? Right here.
those people who was caught at Diddy party did not know that he had 250 tape recorders in that house. That's a big house. But he had 250 tape recorders in that house that they took.
With such leverage, the current narrative starts to hit harder. Because what folks are now asking is, what if relationships like that of Harv and Bey weren't always built on love alone? What if there were layers of pressure, expectation, and even silent agreements tied to power? The idea floating around is that Diddy's world, with all its secrecy, may have intersected with other major figures in ways people are only starting to question now. And if recordings or compromising situations were ever part of that environment, then the possibility of leverage becomes real. Now take that idea and place it next to Beyonce's situation. A young artist stepping into the biggest stage of her life, a powerful mentor figure with control, influence, and access. It raises a question people can't stop asking right now. Was everything as organic as it looked, or was there more happening behind the scenes that the public was never meant to see? Jaguar Wright has been one of the loudest voices calling out both Jay-Z and Diddy for years. In multiple interviews and viral clips, she's described a system where power isn't just about money, it's about control, about who has information, who has leverage, and who can move without consequences. In one interview, she even compared Jay-Z and Diddy to being inseparable in how they operate, suggesting that their connection runs deeper than just business or friendship.
Tell me something. When you have a peanut butter jelly sandwich, if it's just peanut butter, it's just peanut butter. If it's just jelly, it's jelly. When you put it together, it becomes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the taste is undeniable.
You're saying Diddy and Jay-Z is peanut butter jelly?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Then there's the Rihanna situation, which adds another layer to this pattern. Rihanna was discovered as a teenager, brought into Jay-Z's orbit at a young age, and quickly pushed into a major deal with Def Jam. At the time, the story was framed as a lucky break, a superstar being discovered and launched into success. But years later, people started revisiting how that deal happened. Stories circulated that a young Rihanna was kept in Jay-Z's office for hours during that early meeting without parental supervision until she agreed to sign. Some say it was just business pressure. Others see it as something more intense. There are even claims that she was threatened with being taken out if she didn't agree.
Then she was put on a private plane, a minor, from one country to another, without parental supervision. And she ended up in a boardroom with Mr. Carter, without parental supervision.
Yes, he said, we don't sing songs here, we sing artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief. But then he said something about a window and a door or something. Oh, then he said, he did it homework. I did a lot of homework on you this lady. He said, there are two ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal signed, or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor. So you...
Young female artists, powerful male figures, high-pressure situations, and life-changing decisions being made behind closed doors. And now, when you place Beyonce back into that pattern, it starts to feel less isolated. Because if Aaliyah allegedly said no and Rihanna was pressured, then where does that leave Beyonce's story? Was her path a choice, or was it shaped by forces the public never saw? And if the rumors about Diddy's role in gathering leverage within elite circles have any truth to them, then the idea of pressure becomes even harder to ignore. And let's not forget the Pimp C situation. For years, there's been talk that Pimp C might have come across a recording tied to a high-profile celebrity. Some speculate that Beyonce was connected to that footage, but nothing has ever been officially confirmed.
Who was in this Pimp C tape?
All I can tell you, there was a famous R&B chick, and it was a guy that was getting money at the time. And, you know, Pimp, he used to be in the studio. And every now and then he'd have a camcorder, so he was able to get some footage. And he wanted to do something with the footage, but I don't know why he didn't do nothing with it, but if I could have got a hold of that tape, I'd be a billionaire, man. I was, boy, hey, whoever it was, they had to kill me, man. I know TMZ would have paid a bank for that one, man. But yeah, it is a tape, and if you read the comments, a lot of people figured out. A lot of people figured out because, you know, people that was in Houston at the time, they know who was a little loose, you know, as a Montana goose. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they also know who was having money at the time. So it's not really hard to figure out.
Pimp C passed away in 2007 with the official cause listed as complications involving lean and sleep apnea. Still, some of his friends have said the situation around his death never felt fully explained.
Like, tell me something. Like, you know what I mean? And the most I could get was I never got if the door was locked or not. I just had to break it down. Because if the door wasn't locked, that means somebody left out.
Right.
If the door was locked, that means he felt good. He locked it. He was in there.
Right.
It's a whole different level of what happened. A lot of shit goes out the window if I just know that part.
Right.
But then it's like I heard some clothes on or something. I don't know. Like I don't really know if all this is true, but I just heard parts like. I'm like, what happened to my guy?
Right.
And then they come out with the official. It was a mixture of some stuff, the prescription and something else or something that I don't really know. But with me, I never really heard something that would give that closure for me. I never really heard anything.
Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough? You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston?
And now, Jay being named in the Epstein files and being investigated, the Stretch saying Beyonce can't take in anymore. There have already been speculations of her divorcing Jay, but this time it seems like it's deeper. Word is she's been overworked, used, and he even put his hands on her. Remember when Uncle Ron was loud about Jay's controlling attitude, even making Beyonce hooked on the substance?
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them. Okay, I get the threats, but you have to remember one thing. I know your deepest secrets. I know so much about you and what you've done. I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
Dude made a whole lot more wild claims, and just like he predicted, he was dead a few weeks after making these claims, with his social media accounts deleted. Coincidence? Maybe or maybe not.
Well, they said he died from that pneumonia.
Yes.
You know, just like Kim, just like Brittany Murphy. That pneumonia ain't no joke. Hey, every time somebody get to telling the truth about someone, whoever's been lying, they just say a little prayer and then the pneumonia comes.
So now, the spotlight is on you. Do you think all this is just internet speculation, or do you believe there might actually be a deeper system at play behind the scenes of the industry? And if Beyonce really is at a point where she's ready to speak, what do you think she might reveal? More importantly, if Aaliyah refused a path that others accepted, what does that say about how power really works at the highest level? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is only getting louder. And if you want more deep dives into the stories Hollywood doesn't like discussing, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and click on that next video popping on your screen now to dive even deeper.